Charlie, aka Sorts of Sorcery. So glad to have you on, man. I've really been digging, especially your last two episodes. You've got about eight or nine episodes out now on YouTube. We'll have a link for your channel below. But man, the lore videos you've been doing are just amazing. Like some of the best content I've seen for sorcery that isn't just like gameplay, something beyond gameplay and the competitive aspect of the game that I've really been digging.
Thank you very much. It's so the two most recent ones were like when I really tried to like really dive deep into, and I put the disclaimer on the most recent one that it's just my interpretation, but I'm trying to do this, I don't know, I guess like narrative thing, which I think all of these things are happening, but without the concrete like seal to be like, hey, this is absolutely what's happening. It's not so much that, it's rather I think this is the way the waves are moving, and I'm kind of just, I'd like to point them out and also throw in my conjecture and my interpretation just as a narrative structure to the videos. So that's why I put the disclaimer, like this is just my interpretation. Like Eric even said himself, lore is up to the players. You know, whatever you find narratively within the story, like that's your thing, make it yours. Like that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
But
and that's, a lot of the way kind of early Magic was. They put out some novels in the very, very start of the game, like maybe the second or third year. But like most of the story for Magic the Gathering was like you kind of learned it as you were playing the game and reading the flavor text of the cards and stuff.
Right.
So I think he does want to mirror that like early discovery aspect of the lore, which to me was like, it made the game for me when I was a kid, like that sort of, like just being like, oh, who's this? What's this card? Oh, these two cards mention the same guy. Oh my God, that kind of thing. So like that to me was always a really cool part of the early Magic experience. And I think Eric is doing a pretty good job of like mimicking that sense of like discovery and joy. The almost like what is it? The Legend of Zelda, like the early Legend of Zelda was basically about discovery, that kind of like that aspect,
Yeah, I think that's like very, very clear, like what he wants to achieve. I've actually been thinking like, okay, so in the context of like what comes next, with a basis for like human history as like the lore, like the foundation for the lore, obviously, which, is very, very clear at this point. The sort of thing, big picture I've been thinking about is like, okay, so then what's the goal then after then? We explore a bunch of different mythologies, explore different, things about different religions or different historical events that happened. At what point, like, what point does Eric say, okay, we've built out this foundation for the realm. We've established the historical parts of it and, all the mythological parts of it. At what point do we start inserting our own characters into this? Because I think that, I'm not saying that they can't do it, but at a certain point, I feel like they'll need to start branching out into their own unique stuff. And I feel like we have a little bit of that already. Like I've been thinking a lot about Captain Baldasair.
Yeah, the exact thing I was thinking, actually. I was like, is that like a fictional character? I don't think he is.
I have, it's working up here. Like I have a weird process of how I like write all this stuff down, but I have it up here where Captain Baldasair might actually be like Davy Jones. There's some, so all right, so what I've seen is that there's a Marvel character, and I'm not a big Marvel guy or anything, but there's a Marvel character named like Just von Straten or something like that, and he's like a sailor or something. He's like a pirate or a sailor, and he gets goaded by another Marvel character named Mephistopheles, and he basically goads Just into taking his ship out into like an oncoming storm in search of like treasure or something, and then that inevitably the whole crew gets wiped out, the ship gets submerged, they're dead, and then he becomes Davy Jones.
Okay.
So it's a super duper far stretch. It's just one of those things that it's like, I don't know if I can really put this in. It's like you got to really reach for this.
It's got like hints of like Rime of the Ancient Mariner as well. Like, you know, like, yeah. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield. They just dropped an advanced search engine for Sorcery the Contested Realm. If you want to browse every available card or dig deep with powerful search filters, head over to sorcery.moxfield.com. You can even click on the search syntax button on the main page to see all the terms you can use. And don't worry, when new cards are revealed from official sources, Moxfield updates quickly. Now on to the show.
Yeah,
that's something I want to talk to you about as well. Is like, you obviously have a deep background in fantasy and mythology, like the stuff that you're putting out there. You know, like, I don't think everyone's going to pick up every single little part of. I caught a lot of it. Like, I'm very much into the occult and into like esoterica and stuff like that. So like a lot of this stuff, like, just like, oh, okay, there you go, you're mentioning this, or like, correct me if I'm wrong, I think there might have been a mention of like the demiurge or something like that in there at one point. And I was like, ooh, that's like, you know, that's like a 101. If you're into that stuff, you're like, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about, you know?
Yeah, I think because like I view a lot of what's happening in sorcery through like a Christianity lens, just because I'm a Christian, but there's so much interesting stuff with like Gnosticism and all these other religions and like mythologies and stuff that I think that is like unavoidable. And like I've thought about saying the word demiurge. I'm like trying in some ways, like I'm trying to allude to it, that there's you know, I don't know if like Yogg and like the Eldritch or like cosmic stuff really gets there, because it does feel separate to me in my head, but it's like completely untapped territory as far as like sorcery's narrative goes. And I think that would be like a crazy sort of thing. And I sort of alluded to it in the newest video that there is a possibility that maybe one day the mortals will triumph over, you know, one of these like deities or, you know, forces of evil. And then the silver bullet is kind of like the omen that, you know, it's like, hey, we're aware of the mortal realm now. Like who knows like what else knows about the realm? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
and it's always like, you know, you get to that point where it's like, oh, maybe, you know, let's say that it's the undead, right? The undead were keeping the old ones from coming back because there wasn't enough like life energy or something, like, you know, that sort of thing. Like, you know, like, and then like getting rid of the undead actually is the key to like bringing back the great old ones or something, you know, something like that. So there's all these different factions at play that are just sitting in the background that we don't really hear about. And I'm sure, like, you know, they're talking about this in design a little bit, like talking about the story. I'm sure there's game design and then there's like story design. And even though there's not a like written narrative per se for it, there's, you know, there's obviously some sort of a lore situation that they're kind of cultivating in the background that
100%.
is at least loose, you know?
100%. Yeah. I mean, it's good that in my eyes, it seems like a good play, because I heard like a long time ago, like Eric, he's like, we've got at least 7 sets planned. Like if everything financially stays sound and crisp, we have at least 7 sets planned. So like I said, keeping that human history and like human mythology and all those different angles and stuff, keeping that as the foundation for it is, I mean, we're going to get to these places, I think. I mean, I don't think sorcery is going anywhere. I think we're going to get more than 7 sets. And yeah, there's a lot of untapped sort of material that they can get into, and like really, really, really deep, like occult, like esoteric stuff, like you were saying.
Like
so,
go all the way back to like, you know, the Conan Hyborian age, or like, you know, go to Atlantis, do that sort of stuff. You know, there's just so much like history that like is like not, you know, like not real history, that is like human mythos stuff that they can dabble in before they ever do, you know, like that people have talked about maybe they're going into space or something like that before they even need to go into space, or talk about going to other worlds, or God forbid moving to a different plane, you know, like you know, like that sort of stuff. That there's so much to explore. And what's funny is Magic did that too. Like Magic sat on the same plane for pretty much if we don't count them retconning Arabian Nights to a different plane called Arabia, uh, the Magic stayed on the same plane until I think Tempest, which was like its 14th or 15th set. You know, like it was
Okay.
like, you know, everything was on Dominaria, and you know, you just kind of met these characters, and there wasn't really an emergent storyline until about Tempest as well, because they were like, here are some characters that you can follow, because it was just like, here's the guy that like we know about in this, you know, in this thing. Maybe there's a legend
Yeah.
character that like,
Yeah.
you know, but they don't like, you didn't track them. They just like, this guy exists in this set. This guy exists in this set. Oh, here's the guy who's like the Dragon Slayer characters in this set. And then when we got to Tempest, they started being like, we're gonna play with storyline a little bit more and have like more cohesion and have like a continuity.
Hmm.
And I think that that's sort of, you know, whether or not that's the direction that EC wants to go towards. I think that like it's fine to take your time and wait on that and see where things go and like establish a world first, right? With world building being the most important part of this, and then be like, okay, now that we've done this and we have some characters, you know, like, okay, here's a guy back from beta again that you haven't seen for a while. Stuff's
Exactly.
changed, you know,
Exactly.
like that stuff would be cool.
The I mean, case in point, the one set a year, if that's not like an indicator, Eric is fine taking his time.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, exactly.
you know.
Yeah.
But that was also something I said in with regard to the Silver Bullet, which is, I mean, for those that don't know, Eric came from Grinding Gear Games because he co-founded Net Studio. You know, and they made Path of Exile, and I even say in the video, like, a lot of what's set up for like Path of Exile's end game activities, there's a lot of celestial and like cosmic horror stuff that's happening. That was set up over many, many years. I mean, when the game came out, it was essentially a Diablo 2 like spiritual successor. So, you know, very like gothic, very like dungeony and like dark and that kind of stuff, like grim, maybe not grim dark, but I mean, if you've played Diablo 2, I never did, but I know enough about it to know.
Played
like
a lot of Diablo 2.
I started with strangely, I started with D3, and I had fun, but then like I went back and saw like Diablo 2 after the fact, and I was like, man, why didn't we get this game but just like the sequel?
Yeah.
And that's,
yeah, I mean,
you know,
I went back during the pandemic and like got really deep. I hadn't played it probably since like 2000, so I went back in and got like really deep in. Got my whole like, I was playing on a Nintendo Switch, which is like
nice.
not optimal, but like I got it so like I knew where all the buttons were and everything, and
Yeah.
I could like, and I was like following people on YouTube. That's when I started like getting back into YouTube like really seriously, because I was like, oh, like you can do like good content that's not just like playing games. People were talking about the strategies and stuff. When I played, the rune words weren't even a thing. Like,
Really?
yeah. So like I was like,
Wow.
whoa, what is this? You know?
Yeah, but yeah, basically with the whole Silver Bullet, it's like with Path of Exile, I mean, there's a good amount of like the foundation of my conjecture based on like how Eric operated that game, because he was a creative director. Like everything about how, as far as I'm aware, everything about how that game looks and the narrative stuff, like that's all Eric. So I'm just kind of basing my conjecture on the Silver Bullet based around how he operated Path of Exile, which is to say that the cosmic and like extra terrestrial stuff, I guess you could say, that came in years and years later. It was like patiently implemented. It was, you know, an organic evolution. Like, because I even said in the video, I was like, once you go, my narrative rule book, and I'm not a writer or anything, but once you go celestial, like you don't come back. Like you can't come back. It's really hard
It's
to.
tough. Like the Marvel Universe has been trying to come back for years, right? Like ever since, you know, like Dark Phoenix Saga, let's say, you know, like,
it raises the stakes in a way that it's like, it's exciting and like there's a lot to unpack and a lot that you can do with it, but that just like kind of removes a seal on certain things. So
I do
that's
like
my
the
only
idea that you had, that like there are these different evil factions that like have their own agendas. You know, that's cool to me, because like even, you know, and again, like obviously magic is a lens, right? You've got like the Eldrazi, you've got the Phyrexians, right? Like you've got you've
absolutely.
got like the undead, and you've got the Bolas. Like there's all these different like quote unquote evil factions that all have their own end game in mind, right? Like, and the idea that like it's just good versus evil is like so short sighted, like narratively speaking. So like it's really cool to see like, oh, this faction versus that faction. We might get a situation where the two evil factions are like, I'm gonna fight each other, you know, that sort of thing.
Exactly.
You know, and that makes for a compelling story. Is like not just a complicated like bad guy characters, but like factions that are working for their own ends that might not necessarily care. Like, you know, the mortals might be a blip on their radar. If you're looking for dominion, and you're fighting, you know, the ancient spawn versus the undead, or like the, you know, the demons versus the you know, elder gods, you know, like they all have their own agendas in mind. So it makes for compelling gameplay, because you can do that. You can find ways to create that in gameplay. But you can also find really cool ways to tell the story while it's happening too.
Yeah, like they're not, you know, they're going after, like you said, they're going after their agenda. So, I mean, if one evil defeats another, you know, that doesn't make them our friends. Like,
yeah,
the idea that they're fighting against one another is to subjugate, you know, us as the mortals of the realm, I guess you could say. Which I completely agree. Like I was just excited to see that Eric kind of took what I perceived to be happening in the same way that it did in Path of Exile, taking that narrative structure that, hey, like there's this evil force coming and you got to take care of. And then you realize like, oh, there's other ones coming too. And now this, which is not inherently benevolent like force, is now sort of aiding us, but only because it needs to serve its own agenda. So, but no, I appreciate that you also appreciate that that's a great narrative sort of tent pole for the game to have.
Let's talk a little bit about what it takes to make one of these videos, man, because I am no stranger to like long form content, like, but between scripting, editing, you know, coming up with each of these scenes, like you've got so many cuts and stuff going on there. How long does it take to make one of these videos? You're a one-man crew. I'm assuming you don't have a studio behind you, right?
No, I got my clock and my thermostat behind.
Yeah, there you go.
My bathroom.
Excalibur Events is hosting 2 Sorcery Contested Realm weekends you do not want to miss.
Pittsburgh on July 11th and 12th. Columbus on July 25th and 26th. Excalibur Events is running 2 $2,000 tournaments for players to show up, contest the realm, and prove why sorcery belongs on the big stage.
Use code Zach or code Phil in the link below at checkout to get a discount on entry and directly support our channel and the future of sorcery events.
Excalibur is also working with sorcery artists to put together something special for the winners if the turnout is high enough at these events.
You'll get to contest the realm with creators like Old Fashioned Nerds, Archives of the Realm, and you might even hear Lord of Itza yell, "Sorcerers!" live.
To expand the realm we love, show up, play hard, and let tournament organizers like Excalibur Events know sorcery should be supported year-round.
Back to the show.
No, it's I mean, it is like agonizing, but that's just a creative process. Like I have a job, like I have a day job. I work IT, but I'm not a laborer, so to speak. Like
I hear you.
Ever since I was a kid, I love to draw. Like I play guitar every now and then. Like I like the creative side of things. So I was searching for, and I like playing sorcery competitively. Like I went to Gen Con last year, went to Baltimore, had good success at both. But I don't know, I was man, like I can't really get around to play sorcery in person. I want to do something related to the game. And like I saw some people like do lore conjecture and some, some kind of like bullet point stuff, and I was like, I wonder, like, is there more to explore here? And certainly when I realized like, hey, like these people, like they existed in real life. Like we're talking about, I mean, now that Gothic's out, like Rasputin, Jack the Ripper, trying to think what else, like even like the Saracen forces, the stuff to like old like England and like Britain with Arthurian legend. Like, I mean, everyone knows Arthurian legend, I think, but yeah, it's just like, hey, like these are real people, or like these were historical figures in some way. It's like, I guess there is more to explore. So part of it has been a history lesson. Another part of it has been like, this is where the agony comes in, is trying to find where it fits in within the narrative with sorcery. So as far as the videos go, this most recent one, for example, I put out the Mythos and Mystery 2 months ago, and then I had a decompression for like a week where I was just like, I'm just dead. Like I can't.
Oh yeah.
I can't.
Once you gotta like there's this push and pull, right? Once you get finished something, you're drained. But then there's also like this like drawback to be like, I need to create more.
Yeah.
I know exactly where you're at with that. Like as a ex photographer, like, you know, like I put out stuff and then like, you know, especially the art stuff I was putting out, and then I'd be like, cool. And I'd be like drained from the creation process. And then like 2 weeks later, I'm like, I need to be creating again.
That
like,
makes me so happy that
making stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. That makes me so happy you get it. Like you've felt that, because it's fulfilling and rewarding and gratifying, but it's like at the same time, it's just draining, like you said. But
yeah.
So I put out the Mythos and Mystery video, took like a week, and I was like, I want to do something again. Like I want to get my hands moving and my head churning and stuff. So this most recent one, the Lore of the Mortal Realm, came out on Monday. I think it was like a 2-month gap. So I spent quite literally 2 months just writing and revising, cutting huge chunks. And then even when I was recording, I actually cut like a 15-minute chunk out of the video. Like I recorded it. And then as I was like in the editing process, I was like, I can't make this work. Like
this is why I have Phil. Phil's like a great editor, and like I'm working on a documentary right now for like the history of magic through
I saw
Neil
that.
Howe's Fourth Turning. You know, which is you have to do a lot of hoop jumping to make all this stuff work.
Oh yeah.
But in doing that, I'm writing out the whole script, and like I get to a point where I'm like, oh, I'm just bullshitting now. Like not bullshitting per se, but like this might not make sense, and I'm like, Phil will do that work for me. Phil will be like, he'll read through that and he'll be like, okay, as like a person viewing this, I'm not going to understand this, and then he'll just cut it out, and I'm like, great, that leaves me the ability to like get out everything from my head, and then Phil and I will work on the editing process afterwards. It's amazing to have somebody in the background to do that work for you.
Yeah, you guys have great articles, so he's doing a good job. But yeah, it was 2 months essentially of writing, revising it, cutting stuff, changing words, changing structure of like where things are put. So I mean, Phil probably understands the pain of like the editing structure and process. And then I recorded it. It was like I said, it was close to a 60-minute like audio recording. Got it cut down to about 40 minutes. And I actually didn't like how it came out the first time, so scrapped that whole thing, redid it. And then it was funny, the night that I put it out on Monday, this past Monday, CJ actually messaged me. He's like, I just got 8 minutes into the video, and he said, who are you? Because I have my own YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I'm 8 minutes into this, and this is the best sorcery video.
That's what I'm saying. Like, okay, like, so let me give everyone the pitch here. Like, how are you not monetized yet? Because this is some of the most intense stuff on for sorcery. You have 195 subscribers. If this video doesn't get you to over 500, I'm gonna be pissed off, because legitimately, like, if you're watching this and you love sorcery, like, there's absolutely no reason you shouldn't be subscribed to Charlie's channel. You're putting out some of the most intense and interesting content that is not like just gameplay content, especially at a time when we're in a doldrums period for the game. We're waiting for information to come out. And it's probably going to come any day. So we're all waiting for that. But this is like some of the most entertaining stuff that I've seen for sorcery. That's not just like, hey, how to play sorcery, or like, here's strategy for this. It's like you're doing work that's totally different than almost anyone else in the creator sphere for the game. And it's the amount of work that you're putting into this stuff is just like, there's absolutely no reason that you should not already, like, I think people just haven't like figured it out yet. Like, people just don't know yet. Like,
that's fine. Yeah.
I hesitate to say you're not doing a good enough job promoting yourself. But like, it's insane to me that you don't have that. You're like, when I looked at your channel, because like, oh, this guy probably has like, the production quality is amazing. He probably like, I'm like, this guy probably came in from some other game and just ported over all those skills and I bet his sorcery channel is like an 11K right now or something like that, right? Because like I don't know, like
Well, that's
I'm
a
always,
beautiful compliment. Thank you.
I'm always comparing myself to every other sorcery creator out there,
Yeah.
you know, like or any other channel that does like a similar thing to me. I'll be like, oh, what's this podcast on this game have? Oh, okay. Like if it's Riftbound, I'm always like unsurprised that there's like this like, oh, this guy's at like 50K somehow. I'm like, I
Yeah.
guess people just really like League of Legends or whatever. I understand that like sorcery is going to be a smaller percentage of the population. To me, it's about that organic growth. Like I really do think that like when people figure out these like that this game is awesome, like we're already seeing like when I started it, we were in Arthurian Legends, and I was already talking up the game to my co-host a lot and being like, dude, like this is a great game. And he was like, you know what? I've got so much other stuff on my plate, and you know, we've got the Magic stuff and pre-modern and Magic and Legacy. And I was like, bro, you're coming with me to Baltimore, and we're gonna teach you the game over the weekend, and you're gonna play just like I'm just gonna hand you the best deck, and we'll see what happens. And he made like 19th place off of like 15 total games of sorcery, and he was like, I'm fucking hooked. Also, I didn't know you were gonna make me the fucking villain by making me play Archimago. I was like, it's fine. Like, I just wanted you to have a good experience and show you that like, because he was in a slump for Magic. So I was like, it's not you, it's the game. Like this game rules, and you're a good player. And if you play a game that rules and you're good, and the game is balanced, like you'll just rise, you know. And I had just like won a cornerstone, so I was like really high on the game too. And so I was like, I think that we just split the Magic channel because we were doing like a couple of episodes a week about sorcery, and I was like, that makes YouTube mad. Let's split it. Let's split the channel. And I was like, it's gonna be tough to get monetized again. I got monetized in like 3 months because it was like right as Gothic was coming out.
Yeah.
So it was like if you know, it looks like you started 6 months ago, but like the lore episodes came out 2 months ago. So like I think that had you got in for the lore stuff, and the thing is like you have to do your research there. So like some of that stuff just is kind of whatever. But like I think if you got in like 6 months ago, right as a new set comes out, so many eyes are on this thing because like I was averaging like 300 to 400 subscribers a month. Now it's like down to like 80. You know, and we're in that doldrums period.
That's good advice though, because I actually agree with that. It's like I think my goal is like I don't really have a vision to be like a huge
me
like YouTube or anything. It's just I'm sure you get it. It's like there's a creative need that I need to fulfill.
I like numbers go up, you know.
yeah. So I mean I highly appreciate the compliments. Like that is I mean really high regard to think that I should be, you know, at this metric or this, like that makes me feel good, and I appreciate that. But yeah, as far as like the videos go, it's funny. I got a message from somebody like the next day or the next night. He's like, "Hey, love the video, great stuff. You should probably private all your other videos on your channel." And I didn't even like click with me.
It's kind of a thing, but
it was all like Overwatch and like
making. Oh, it was all over. Okay,
it was like different. Overwatch and like I literally just renamed my YouTube channel that I just like made back when I was in like high school, or something, and I would just use it as like a repository for just funny clips that me and my friends would have while playing games and stuff. And it was just good advice that the guy had. He's like, "Hey, you should just private these, like don't delete them or anything." But it's just weird seeing this like cool sorcery video or whatever, and then all of a sudden Overwatch is popping up and people are screaming in the mic, and so I was like, "Oh yeah, well, you're probably right."
People like, you know, like they do that. They'll go on to, they'll like be like, "Oh, okay, like what else is on this channel, right?" And they see that like you've got a bunch of other stuff that's not sorcery, and they're like, well, is he going to make more sorcery content, or is this just like a one-off thing? You know, so yeah, that is good advice. I do like a coaching service for YouTube channels through my Patreon, and I get coached by a couple guys that are bigger than me. So like it kind of like trickles down what they teach me. You know, it kind of comes out in the wash too. But I think that is good advice. And then the other thing is like, you know, consistently uploading is a thing. But like if we're looking at like your channel. I compare your channel to like there's a channel for Magic called Ristic Studies, who is like who's
Sam.
a lore channel. Yeah, Sam's channel is amazing, and he does like maybe once every a month and a half he'll put out a video, but they crush because they're just great, you know. And that's like you can, as long as the consistency is not necessarily. I know I'm getting into the weeds for everybody listening about how to YouTube. But
we're having a private thing. You guys do something.
But no, the consistency isn't about like time consistency. It's about quality of content consistency. If you can put out great content every time you put out content, like YouTube will reward that. It will know, like it'll be like, oh, people really like this video, and every time this person puts it out, we need to make sure that everyone that saw it last time sees it. Like the whole how the algorithm works is a bit depressing, but at the same time, like if you understand it, you can do better on these platforms.
Yeah, it's been fun to see number go up.
Yeah,
like I said, the vision's not to be big YouTuber or anything. I mean, if it happens that way, then awesome. Like I'm not gonna object to it. But
well, I mean, it's just about freeing up your time and money resources so that you have time to make the content. That to me, like
true.
That's
also
true. When people are like, oh, like what do you and Phil spend all your money that you make? All the money that we make on I'm like, a lot of times it goes into new equipment. To like keep the channel going. Like I need to buy lighting for Phil and stuff like that. I've got like, if I showed everybody what what the other side of this camera looked like, they'd be like, Jesus, dude.
You probably like the diffused lights and the boxes.
I literally have like two like hot lights here, like LCD. The wall is not green. There are two green lights that are like popping, like if I turn this off, right?
There you go.
Yeah. So like,
it looks good though.
I just try and like make the channel look good. But then there's things like I have an Adobe Suite subscription. That's like $60 a month. I have this platform that I'm recording on, Riverside, is like $300 a year. That just things that make your workflow make sense. They cost money, like, so you need to, if you want to make good content, you want to put out content that people want to watch, you need to compensate yourself in some manner. And then like what we don't spend on equipment, we use for travel to go to events so that we can cover events. Like it just pays for the hobby, like, and which is fine. But I think that everyone that's making good content deserves, I'll say deserves a living wage. Sure, that's fine. But like at least deserves to not have the content they make burden them financially to make content for other people's enjoyment. Like that's the way I look at it.
That's a extraordinary, like, I mean, I'm taking that as a compliment, like, because you're saying it in the lens of the context of my video. So I very, very much appreciate that.
Hey, everybody. It would be both unique and exceptional if you joined us at patreon.com/eternaldurls under the Magicians tier to get all of our sorcery content.
By joining us, you help us pump out more elite content for you.
Now back to the show.
It's, I mean, the whole, like, to go back to the process of it, it is like agony, because I'm not learned in writing. I never, I don't have like a structured sort of process for writing. It kind of just through the research and everything, and then like you said, one-man crew kind of. As I'm writing, I keep everything like up here in terms of like, okay, I'm going to talk about this card now, or allude to something about this card. And so, for example, like the Midland Army portion of the most recent video, that whole like little sequence, they like the little pieces came in from the side, and then the opacity, and then the background came in. As I was writing it, like I'm envisioning how it's happening on screen in my head. On top of that, I'm thinking about the audio transitions. I'm thinking about, what kind of music is going to play here, because my sense, like I think everyone has a sense. Like my wife loves food, so like her thing is like taste and smell. I'm sound, so I was like really happy how it came out. It was kind of a happy accident, but in the beginning, after that, heavy metal track cuts, and then it kind of just dissipates over the next 15 seconds or so, and there's no music for the next like couple minutes. I was really proud how that came out, and it was totally by accident. It was because I didn't know what I wanted to put there. And so I was listening back to it from the start until I started talking again. I was like, actually, this is like good that there's nothing here.
Yeah,
because
that like the absence of sound is oftentimes like its own character. as well. Like, you know, just the absence of anything. Like if you do, because then when you bring it back, people are like, you know, like it adds like a punctuation to what's currently going on when you bring something back, right? Like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. So, cause it like in my head, the track cuts out and it's like this really intense metal track. It's the Contortionist, by the way. I love those guys. And it's just like not having another track to like follow up to like just have ambience or background noise. It like kept the tension from that cutoff point. It was, I liked how it came out, but as far as like the process goes, it's slightly agonizing because for 2 months I'm just writing and then revising it and cutting stuff, and then I got to record, and then I'm still making changes. I'm still thinking about like all the stuff about how pieces like art, like pieces of art are like coming into frame, or that's all like I have to like go, I take my iPad and I literally just Collector Art House actually is like a huge boon for this part, because he's got a huge resource.
He's got all the like full pieces and stuff. It's great.
Being able to like have those, and then, you know, like Midland Army, I was able to like individually cut out with like a lasso tool to bring those pieces into frame. Huge shout out to him. Writing, revising, cutting, editing, recording the audio, and then I haven't even gotten to the part where I need to actually do the mechanical editing and bring those pieces into frame along with like the music and all that stuff. So you get it. I know Phil probably gets it too. The
asset folder, I'm very aware. Yeah.
It works for me, and it's like horrible in the moment because it's like so much to juggle, but I feel like it works well for me in the end, and I'm really happy with how things come out because I'm a big believer in like synchronicity and like, you know, happy accidents or something. Like both videos, the one that has the Kairos thumbnail, the Mythos of Mystery, and then this one about the Mortal Realm, you know, I had a plan going in, I had an outline, I had a structure, and if I showed you, I might not even have it, but if I showed you how I thought it was going to be in the beginning versus how it turned out for both videos, they're completely different videos.
Yeah, that's, I mean, any sort of documentary experience, I find that's what ends up happening. You're like, well, this is totally different than what I thought it was going to be. But like, generally because you've improved like so much in the process, you know, like there's a bit of you know, working the crucible, you know, like when when you get in there and start doing stuff, you're like, oh, this doesn't make sense. Let's get that out of there. Or like, oh, I just had a great idea from like, see, now that I can visualize this, this makes more sense. I'm going to try this. You know, like all the time. When I used to do more highly stylized videos, I would occasionally do like a video where I was like talking about one magic card, and I would in Premiere, I would create board states and move cards around in Premiere, which what a pain in the ass. Mm-hmm. Just like, you know, figuring out like, okay, like if I cast a spell that returns an island to my hand, I have to remove the island but make it look like it's going back into my hand and flip it over so you see the back of a mat. Like just the most crazy, like, you know, things that you don't think about when you're editing, because it's just like, or when you're watching, because it's just like it just happens, you know. It's just like the magic of card games is that like the physical part of it is just like I pick up a card, I play a card, you know, like. But when you're editing digitally and like trying to make it look like something on like a board state that you're like, oh my god, but sometimes you come up with something you're like, oh, this changes the whole way I'm editing everything. I can fix it from here, and like now everything's faster. That's the other thing is you're two of these in, like I have to assume that your process has gotten at least more refined since the first one, just because you understand like, oh, okay, here are the elements that I need, you know, like going through that, you know.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you've experienced it too, but like I watched that first video, the Mythos and Mystery, and I was like, oh my god, this stinks. This is like
I mean, that's any, you know, like, dude, if you go back to I won't say that the common sense episodes, because it's we've sort of plateaued on quality by that point, but like if you go back and look at my early Eternal Dirtles like episodes, and that's not even considering that like we were audio for 10 years and then we went to video in like year 7, right? Like if you look at the early audio stuff, it's like me and Phil with like the world's worst lighting. Phil's completely backlit, You know, like I could not get Phil to take a goddamn selfie of himself for the thumbnail to save my life. He doesn't understand lighting at all. I'd be like, Phil, take a photo of you like smiling or like giving thumbs up. And he'd be like completely washed out by the background. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like face the window and do that. Like don't put all the light behind you, you know, that sort of stuff. But then like, you know, even just like, we didn't light ourselves. So it was just like us and like, it was like the world's worst Zoom call, you know, like, and I did struggle with like, should I get rid of those or like, I like keeping them up because I'm just like, look at this, it's terrible, you know? Like,
yeah, I have no problem going back and looking at it. It's just when I do, I'm like, man, even after like this next one, the Mortal Realm, like I watched it back for the first time, and I was like, man, I wish I would have did that differently. And I don't have regrets about like putting it out.
Just our own worst critics at all times. Yeah,
exactly. So, but it's like in my head, it's funny. Like I'm thinking about like all the other YouTubers like for sorcery that I like to watch, like you guys and Josh, Lord of Itza, you know, CJ and Bruce, and I can't think of any others at the moment. Frantic Stein, he's got Ash and Void. There's a lot of people that popped up too alongside me. I think I did start later than most people, but like I'm like looking at them like, man, I love competitive stuff, but I don't like my creative need sort of pushes me towards these types of videos. And I'm like sitting there like, man, those guys probably have like a way easier time.
Well, I mean,
like putting stuff together.
It's a crowded field. I honestly think that by this time next year, when we're talking to you again, you know, the next time we have you on, I think you'll be beyond monetized and probably because you're the only person really doing this particular kind of content to this level, you're gonna see there's gonna be a meteoric rise where like people realize that there's like a guy doing like Vorthos stuff out there that
Vorthos
it's just like you know, like it's an untapped part of the game. Like there are tons of people playing competitive sorcery talking about like play the best deck or like you can do, here's a strategy guide, you know, that kind of thing. There's not a lot of people doing what you do. So there is a sort of a bonus to like being the only person making that kind of content, especially if you're one of the first people doing it, because one, everyone's gonna say, oh, this guy came out with a thing later on, right? Oh, there's another lore channel. It's like, oh, another lore channel. Have you seen this guy's lore channel? Like it just automatically happens, you know, when that goes on. And I think that you serve a different niche than you know, of like viewer than the competitive people do. Like I serve ex-Magic players who used to be sweaty, that are fed up with Magic, you know, that like now want to play another, that see this game as sort of a way to opt out of that nonsense of what you know, the Ninja Turtles of it all, I'll say, you know, like and play something that is more akin to to the like game that they played as kids, right? Like so there's that. But like I think CJ and Bruce are more involved in the community aspect of the game, and they have that going for them, and of course CJ has some wins under his belt, so that helps too.
That helps.
But then like you know, there's Frogamaggio who does like limited content, right? Like, and so like I think everybody like when you serve a niche that's like untapped, you'll see like the people just find it eventually, and then like all of a sudden it goes from being this thing that you were like, you know, trying to make it work or whatever, and then you're like, oh god, I like it happened overnight, like, you know, like, and I think that, you know, you'll also see, and this is one of the things that EC is really great with, is like when you're making this content and it's really good, they start to take notice, and then they start to help promote it too. Like Chase has been great, like reaching out to us about like content, and like when we talked about I was like, hey, I want to we're gonna delve into gameplay content a little bit, live gameplay content. So like if you have anything that you can send us for Gothic coming up, and they send us like early Avatar pre-cons.
Nice.
So we were able to have it like on release day, we were able to have some content to put out there, stuff like that. Like there's just little things that they can do to make your life easier. And when you're in, you know, when you're in the creator, like you know, part of the creator channel that they speak to, you know, like, and you're showing up to events, you're meeting, it's about like I think the most important thing is like going to live events and meeting people in person and just being like, hey, I'm this guy. Because like, you know, especially for you, you're not featured like on your channel, like, so people, you know, like I probably saw you or maybe even met you in Baltimore, but like
I saw your
the
Pac-Man
suit. That's by design, right? Like you can't miss the guy in the Pac-Man suit.
No,
right?
you cannot. You stood out.
So that's, you know, that's one of those things. It's like, you know, because that was a thing I talked to Phil about initially, because Phil has his like miracles jacket, and I was like, when we go to live events, I just want to make sure that people can find us, you know, and that kind of came from like, I used to wear the Brooklyn like bike cap, like the yellow bike cap at tournaments, so that my friends could find me when we were at like a big event, and it worked out well. And I was like, I can take this a step further and make it so that anyone can find me, right? Like, it's stuff like little tiny things like that, branding, you know, like it's kind of like whatever, you know. But I don't want to take up too much more of your time, Charlie. But I just wanted to say, like, man, how cool this channel is. How, like, again, everyone, if you're not following this, you're doing yourself a disservice, because it's really fun, really cool. Like, aside from all the competitive stuff in the game, is getting into the lore and just kind of understanding, you know, putting yourself in Eric's mindset at the very least, you know, like where things could go next. You know, to me, this is an awesome resource for the community.
I appreciate it. That's it's a labor of love. I mean, just like every other person's channel, like the game, I don't know. I was saying it the other day to my friend Bob, like, you know, the game does not need any type of like elevation in certain aspects, but it like just, I feel like it's bringing the best out of people, and because like at its core, like the ethos of the game is hearkening to, you know, like an age of, you know, long lost past, essentially. You know, I didn't start playing Magic until 2019, so I'm not as enfranchised as other Magic players, but I want what old school Magic.
Yeah. I mean,
is.
I feel for you. I feel bad that you didn't get to have that experience I had when I was like 15, just discovering cards in my friend's basement. You know, like.
So, but yeah, like I said, the game doesn't need any type of elevation in that respect, but yeah, it's cool to see that people like it and people are responsive to it. And I have a house rule for myself that if in my conjecture, I'm like, I think I'll be wrong in certain things, but if I'm like completely wrong and like, you know, it's like bad, no more videos.
Nah, come on.
Come on. That's a house rule.
Man, if I took myself off of this channel every time I had a bad take, we would not be having this conversation. That's for sure.
Yeah. But no, it's cool to see people like it and people are responsive, and I, you know, tremendously appreciate even just, you know, I think 1,000 people, like 1,500 people on the first video. There's like probably 500 on this new one. I mean, I was making little like funny gaming clips, or like capturing funny moments of like games me and my buddies would play, and that was the original YouTube channel, and we, you know, 15 views, 20 views. So it's cool to see, you know, and I'm happy that people appreciate it and respond to it so positively.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait for the next one, man.
Hopefully not as long away as this one, because I was thinking about doing a lighter, less intense. I liked how you said that word, because I think this other video was kind of intense. But like a lighter thing, sort of related to like the lore of things that didn't make it into a video yet. Stuff that like the Davy Jones, Captain Baldassare connection, like stuff like that. It's a little bit of a reach, and you know, maybe there's some there, and it'd be more of a fun video. Just say like, hey, like I kind of noticed this thing, and you know, I don't know if it's going to lead anywhere, but it's cool to point out and theorize about. But the other experiment that I'm kind of running with like the narrative stuff is I feel like I've written the stuff in a way that I've led people to sort of start looking at these things and researching things on their own. And I've been seeing so many things pop up in Discord and stuff. It's like, hey man, look at this card. Like, what is this about actually? Let's look at this. And I'm like, that makes me happy. Cause even in the beginning, I was like, I don't want to rail someone into being like, oh, like, no, this is the only way it's supposed to be. This is the only opinion. This is the truth. That's not my goal. My goal is rather to I guess, put the train on the tracks and be like, hey, you guys can, look at this card.
Get the conversation started. Yeah.
And I think I'm achieving that goal because, like I said, I'm seeing a bunch of people over in Discord like talk about cards in just a different way, which is awesome to see. So
yeah. Well, again, super appreciate you coming on, man. If anybody again, subscribe to his channel, like the video, all that stuff. Subscribe to us. If you want to support us, you can go to patreon.com/eternaldurdles, all that stuff. With that said, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.